Good morning, dear professors and colleagues. Welcome to the Symposium of the IOP 2021 Congress, Causality Matters of Oscillation in Psychophysiologies. I am the chairman of this symposium, Li Fuzhang from University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. The purpose of this symposium is to show our latest scientific progress and future research interests in causal analysis and its application to an oscillation nonlinear system, which is a core difficulty in the psychophysiological signal analysis. Before the symposium, I'd like to make a brief introduction to the research progress in the field of causal analysis and the details about our previous work to show the necessity of our work. I hope that this symposium can inspire more researchers to join our research to improve relevant theories as well as apply them in diverse fields of psychophysiology. Okay, the first fundamental problem, what is causality? We can understand causality from many perspectives. For the phenomena in our daily life, we know that, for example, apple fell down because of gravity, stone became hot because the sun beaming, etc. And also, philosophers such as Hume and Galileo give us some inspiration. They put forward many philosophical hypotheses of causality. For example, they say that causality can be found in continuity between cause and effect. Causality can be defined through correlation. We focus on the principle of conversion. That is, primary cause and effect interaction is first acquired, and the presence of a candidate cause and of the cause and of the effect is then computed from the sensory input somehow. So for mathematicians and system engineers, they want to know how to describe and find the potential causality in the time series through the mathematical model under the guidance of the both philosophical principles and also in the field of psychophysiology. We know that many processes of psychophysiological can be described and identified by causality. So as to deepen an understanding of ourselves, how to use the causal analysis theories to deeply study and analyze the psychophysiological phenomenon by multimodal physiological signals is our key problem to be solved. Okay, next, we can review some classical causal inference theories. The first theory of the causal analysis was the Granger causality test proposed by Granger. It's based on time dependency and is widely used in different fields. This made Granger win the Nobel Prize in economics in 2003. However, we see that it is based on the assumption that the cause and effect are separable, which is useful in many linear systems, but might not be applicable in complex dynamical process. And then in 2012, Sugihara et al. Processed a state-dependent theory, that is, convergent cause mapping in science, has been developed to accommodate the inseparability of causal effects, but the experiment shows that it's weak in some nonlinear complex systems. Another method, transfer entropy, based on the information theory, was also prevalent in artificial intelligence application, but we say that it is essentially based on Bayes predictions. And then in 2018, Professor Nodong Huang, academic of the National Academy of Engineering of America, and his student Albert Young proposed a brand new theory, namely causal decomposition, which is based on the phase dependency and follow the principle of covariance set up by Kant and Hume. However, due to the inherent problem of the signal adaptive decomposition method, they used EMD method, like some problems, mode alignment and mode mixing. This method will still fall in multi-scale physiological systems. To sum up, we found that all of these methods cannot be applied to oscillatory nonlinear systems, which hinders their application in psychophysiologies. Uh, we proposed a new method to try to solve these problems. That is the noise-assistant multivariate empirical mode decomposition based causal decomposition, and it is published in Journal of Neuroengineering. You can download the article if you are interested in our research. Um, this method is based on instantaneous phase dependence and accommodate scale alignment and mixing. Offer the first step towards the causality identification for multi-scale time series in a complex dynamic process. Um, we gave a definition of cause and effect. We believe that the variable A causes variable B if the decomposed IMFs in both A and B are at a certain similar time scale, and the intense phase dependency between IMFs in A and B is eliminated when the IMF in B is removed from itself, but not vice versa. Specifically for our method implement, we use the NAMEMD to decompose the private time series into a set of multi-channel IMFs. Identify the causal components of the signal and analyze the phase relationship from those sets to represent the causality between two time series. This is a method, and we try to apply our method into brain physiological time series data of brain muscle interactions in the context of elbow extension and flexion movements. We think this is a typical application in psychophysiology. So the typical brain-related limb movement experiment can reveal the general utility of the NMEMD-based causal decomposition method in coupled nonlinear chaotic oscillators, pointing to its potential for complex dynamic systems such as physiological networks, etc. Okay, this is a brief introduction of the topic of our symposium. Next, we invited three speakers. They will introduce their research interests in the context of causality analysis and NAMEMD-based causal decomposition methods and its application in oscillations in psychophysiology research, as well as the future optimize and development of the methods above. So the first, let's welcome Miss Wenyi Lü. Her topic is existing causal analysis method in complex brain physiological dynamics. This is comparative time series analysis between different causal analysis methods with our method and in psychophysiologies. Let's welcome Miss Wenyi Lü.
Hello everyone. My topic is existing causality analysis methods in complex brain physiological dynamics, comparative time series study. My report will include the 4 parts: the overview, and the theory, and the experiment, and the summary. And the first part is about the background. What is causality? Causality is a pair of internets that revolve mutual relationship of two relatively universal ones in the objective world. At present, humans' understanding of causality is not completely clear, which is worth of further study. Therefore, in order to find a relatively more stable test method, we designed several sets of nonlinear dynamic systems, including random processes and deterministic processes. And we also designed a human subject experiment to acquire the cerebral muscle signal of elbow extension, and verified the causal relationship between EEG signal and EMG signal we acquired by comparing existing causality analysis methods in complex brain physiological dynamics. These methods include noise-assisted multivariate in-principle mode decomposition based cost decomposition, also called NAMEMD based CD, and the example in-principle mode decomposition based causal decomposition, also called EEMD, and convergent cross mapping CCM, and Granger causality GC in dynamic complex processes. And we come to the theory we tested in this subject. The first one is Granger causality. It is a popular method for studying causal links between random variables. It is a time sequence-based statistical synthesis test used to determine whether one-time series is helpful in predicting another. However, whether computed in the time domain or the frequency domain assumes linear interactions by virtue of the autoregressive model structure. This might lead to enormous conclusions when nonlinear interactions occur, particularly in higher level association cortex. This is the process of the Granger causality. The second method is convergent cross mapping. It is based on state dependency. Cross-convergence mapping solves the problem that Granger causality is not applicable to nonlinear dynamic systems. under the condition of causality inseparability. Apparent relationships among variables can reach spontaneously in nonlinear systems as a result of marriage correlations or a threshold change in regime. And correlation can lead to incorrect and contradictory sentences. This is how the corresponding manifold being created. The third method is in-principle mode decomposition based causal decomposition. It is based on phase dependency and follows the conservation principle of Hume and Kant. Cause exists, effect appears. Cause vanishes, effect vanishes. But it has its own defects, like mode alignment and mode mixing, which might lead to an unstable result. Then we come to the fourth method, noise-assisted multivariate in-principle mode decomposition based causal decomposition. In this method, we add noise to assist our analysis. This method is based on instantaneous phase dependency, which adapts to partner alignment and partner mixing, and provides a theoretical basis for causality identification of bivariate and multi-scale time series in complex dynamic processes. This is how we detect the EEG signal and the EMG signal and analyze the causality between them. The decomposition process and the instantaneous phase analysis. When it comes to our experiment, the first part of the experiment is the comparison test of simulation system. First, we compared the four methods in the situation of Gaussian white noise. In this simulation, we can see three methods, including GC, CCM, and EMD. They tested a strong causality when the noise length is not enough. But NAMEMD only floated around 0.5, which shows that it didn't test causality in the Gaussian white noise. The next simulation is the deterministic system. The signal is at the right. We tested them in two ways, including downsampling and time shifting, which can show that stability and robustness. We can see that in this simulation, the methods shows the right tendency expect GC, but NAMEMD tested a stronger causality. The third simulation is under stochastic system, and the system signal is at right. We can see that the fourth method expect NAMEMD shows a causality overturn, which is not accord to the objective reality. With the stochastic signal added, we can see NAMEMD performs better. The next part of the experiment is about the brain muscle physiological signal data equalization experiment under exercise simulation. The volunteers will sit still for about 5 minutes and do the left elbow extension 30 times, and then sit still for 5 minutes again and do the right elbow extension for 30 times for our data collection. After the pre-processing, the EEG signal and the EMG signal is shown as the picture. And this is the complex dynamic systems we used in this experiment. We can see in these real-world dynamic systems, EEMD and NAMEMD performs better than the others. They are more stable and didn't have causality overturn. However, NAMEMD tested a stronger causality and is more stable when doing the time shifting. As a result, NAMEMD performs well in establishing cause and effect, but CCM also has its advantage in deterministic systems, which needs comparison. As a conclusion, NAMEMD-based CD is first proposed by Yang, Huang, and Zhang, etc. in preliminary studies. Those findings were reported that in principal mode decomposition method is better than CCM and GC. However, these existing theories, including GC, CCM, EMD-based CD, and NAMEMD-based CD, have not yet been assumed in the simulated and real dynamic processes. Therefore, the comparison is essential to provide theoretical support for the future research on brain network connectivity and physiological network connectivity.
Okay, thanks for Miss Wen Yilu. Next one, let's welcome Mr. Guan Wang. His topic is NAMEMD-based causal decomposition for human upper limb movement recognition. Uh, this is also a prior application for the NAMEMD-based causal decomposition. We used it in human upper limb movement identification. Okay, let's welcome Mr. Guan Wang.
Hello, everyone. My name is Guan Wang. I come from University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. Today, I will introduce you about the enzyme called NAMEMD-based causal decomposition for human upper limb movement recognition. The exercise was divided to 4 parts. The first was introduction. In this part, I will introduce you about the Granger causality and the NAMEMD method. The second part was method. In this part, we do some steps such as channel selection and feature sketching. Then was the third part result. In this part, we get 2 results, CSP and CFS. Then was the last part, conclusion, about the prospect and future. The first part was introduction. The brain muscle physiology network focus on the function and the regulation of complex process between the brain and the neuromuscular system, and interprets the structure of brain behavior and how the network obtains. The most common scenario for interfering causality in brain network may be the Granger causality, but it often makes mistakes in analyzing complex physiology. The study used noise-assisted, multivariate, empirical mode decomposition, also called NAMEMD-based causal decomposition, to deal with the EEG data and EMG data obtained from the subject experiment. Through the channel syncing, features extracting, classifying, and verifying, the recognition of human upper limb movement was processed. The second part was method. Look at the picture. It was divided to 4 parts. The first step is pre-processing. We get 3 signals: no movement, right arm extension, left arm extension, and it was 63 channel EEG and 2 channel EMG. In order to remove redundant data, the data was processed by filtering, artifacts removing, and windowing turn. Then we do the second step, channel selection. The 63 channel EEG of the whole brain perhaps contained redundant information, which may degrade the identification performance. Then the NAMEMD-based causal decomposition was applied to channel selection, which was specified by computing relative SO strengths between 63-channel EEG and 2-channel EMG were NAMEMD. Then we do the third steps, picture extraction. In this step, the traditional picture extraction method, for example, the common spatial pattern, also called CSP, and the features got from the frequency accumulation and energy accumulation to form the key feature to analyze the signal. Then was the fourth step, training and evaluation. In this step, considering about the practical application and the robustness of algorithm, the model was trained and evaluated. Then was the third part, result. Look at the table 1 and table 2. In order to improve the classification performance, multiply features was introduced to compose the feature matrix. Based on CSP feature extraction, time series data and their corresponding labels in the training set were first utilized to obtain the optimal spatial filter. Then all data and labels in both training and test sets were projected based on the established optimal spatial filter, which guaranteed 10 multiply 118 feature matrix. The processed CFS were combined with CSP features to fit into the four classifiers. The four classifiers were trained and evaluated using CFS alone, CSP features alone, and the combination of CFS and CSP features. Results shows that the combined feature can achieve the accuracy of 94.3% in the test set and 89% in the tenfold cross-validation of the training set in three-class classification. The results show that the extended key feature that consists of CSP and core features can achieve 100% accuracy in the secondary classification and 94.3% accuracy in the triple classification. The fourth part, conclusion. The NAMEMD-based causal decomposition approach would be a new guide to identify brain psychology, brain physiological based hybrid brain-muscle interface systems. The NAMED-based causal decomposition will process a new idea and method for causal analysis of timing signals. That's all. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. And next, let's welcome Mr. Mingjun Xie. His topic is about the future optimize and development of our method, inspired by the latest research, the article uh, published by uh, Professor Nodong Huang. His topic is realization of NAMEMD-based causal decomposition of oscillatory brain physiological dynamics. Let's welcome Mingjun Xie.
Hello everyone, I'm today's presenter Mingjun Xie. It's my pleasure to give you my report. Today, I would like to present my paper Constraint of Intrinsic Causal Components in NAMEMD based causal decomposition for oscillatory brain psychological dynamics, which is a research on theory extension based on NAMEMD. I arranged 4 parts totally, and I'm going to begin with introduction of background, because it's important to know about previous knowledge. After all, my main idea shows that the deeper research about the subject, and then I will let you know how we get the new idea to perfect our theory. That's a process of deep thinking. For a presentation about the default of a subject, it's necessary to introduce and share it. Anyway, after we get the direction in future research, we focus on the specific method to achieve, and it's also divided into 4 key parts. And at the end of the presentation, it's an oral summary. Okay, let's go to the first part, the brief introduction about NAMEMD. NAMEMD is also called noise-assisted motivatory empirical mode decomposition based causal decomposition, the basic cause and effect relationship that is not based on the term of prediction, but rather on the phase dependence of time series, which has strong applicability to causal reasoning analysis of brain psychological processes in double variables and multi-scale time series. In total, NAMEMD is a newly noise-assisted causal decomposition method for psychological signal, and during the using operation, we use NAMEMD to decompose the bivariate time series into a set of multi-canal IMF, identify the ICC sets, and analyze the phase relationship of these sets to express the causal relationship between the two time series and find a sufficiently small phase difference, the ICC with the highest frequency. This is the primary ICC we need to analyze. In the left figure, we can get 5 IMFs for real dates, and depend on the artificial judgment, we can get the primary ICC is the IMF2, which is also used in the later analysis. Anyway, the other ICCs are also useful, so we can draw a later conclusion. Our main purpose is select the primary ICCs and analyze the inherent pattern of IMAs based on the ICCs. But because the theory is the latest, many places are waiting for the year to be perfected. To build the framework, we just provide a loose restriction, and actually, in real world, this is no such thing as a too ideal situation. That is to say, now we still have many problems to solve, such as we just do the empirical judgment, and the noise auxiliary parameters must be accurate, and we still need strict requirements for decomposition results. And it's also important to select ICC with small enough phase and large enough frequency. And in real condition, a lot of short-time feedback. The singular decomposition of the brain psychological network is in different frequency band, and real world is a chaotic system. Every problem is an direction we can to research. For accuracy of decomposed result and its university, we intended to make the two signals more smooth. After the long reading of literature and thoughts, we get some ideas and inspirations from some researchers to our same field. Inspired by Andrew G. Quinn electricity study, they introduced a novel approach which creates small wavefront shape profile that describe non-scenery stunning feature in single cycle with a high temporary detail. Here, we present the setting constraints of intrinsic causal component in NAMAMD-based causal decomposition with the method. And the left figure is a part of their research. Specifically, it's an instantaneous frequency changes with oscillatory waveform shape. The four columns illustrate examples of different simulated oscillatory cycles with distinct. In the main part of my presentation, I'd like to share the way of specific implementation. I introduced the left figure briefly. First, the figure totally told our overview of analyze appeared to ILFP recordings of hypermental theater. The A is the real input ILFP recording. B is the real signal is split into intransfer mode functions using a mask shift. The C is an instantaneous phase and instantaneous frequency. Time courses is estimated from the theta IMF using the Hilbert transform. The D is cycle start and stop time are identified from jumps in the rapid phase time courses, and by cycle with distortions of variance in phase are identified and removed. And E control point peaks thought ascending zero crossing and descending zero crossing are estimated from the good cycles within the theta IMF. Shape is then summarized using peak to thought and ascending to descending duration reduction. F total hour the instantaneous frequency of each good cycle is phase aligned to correlate for variability in cycle duration and in term cycle timeliness. G is the phase aligned cycles are stacked into a single array to allow for straightforward comparison between cycles. And finally, H is a set of shape motifs are identified from the phase aligned IMF using PCA. From A to D is the only work we do before to find the IMF, and we should pay attention to the steps from E to H. In the key point, we also divide it into 4 steps. First is find the control points. It's also a way to estimating the good cycle in IMF. Then we need to determine the control points. The up-zero insertion of the peak throw and the zero intersection of the drop, and summarize the shape using the duration reduced from peak to throw and rise to decline. And the second is physiological is the main is quite important. It's just aligning the phases of the two momentary frequencies of each cycle. And the third is cross-cycle comparison. Just taking cycle-aligned cycle into a single array. And the fourth is shape modified. It's just identifying the shape patterns we need from the aligned physics using PCA. We use roughly the same direction, but details is different. Finally, let me do a summary for my presentation today. I begin with an introduce about NAMEMD and share how we determine our direction and share our train and thought and introduce the specific method we will implement. That's all. Thanks for your listening.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. Okay, this is all of our symposium today, and thank you for your interest and participation. Uh, I'd, I hope that this symposium can inspire you to join our research to improve the relevant theories and apply them in diverse fields of psychophysiology or in other fields. Thank you for today. Goodbye.